Hey everyone, Ian here. Today I'm going to guide you through installing a powerful yet free tool that's going to elevate your data visualization game called Tableau. Not only that, but I will show you how to create your very first dashboard. Let's get started. Alright, so first we're going to need to download Tableau Public. So what you're going to want to do is go to tableau.com, go to products, and don't worry about all these other Tableau tools. We only want to focus on public right now because that's the free version of Tableau. It'll take you to another page. Go to tableaupublic.com, download Tableau Public, and then don't worry, I'll go ahead and leave the link in the description so you could just come right to this page. So all we're going to have to do is hit download, and it will go ahead and download for us. And if it doesn't download right away, I'm sure it's going to have you sign up first, and then you'll be able to download it. But you'll need that to log in so you can save your work, because that's the only real way to do it is through the cloud. And then that's where you also host your portfolio projects once you create some really cool dashboards. Once you have it installed, go ahead and open up Tableau Public. You'll be greeted with this screen. Over to the left, you can see different ways you can connect to your data, but right now we don't have any data. So let's start with a data set that technically Tableau came up with called the Superstore. Kind of hidden over here, you can see sample data sets. We're going to go ahead and click over here. I wish they made it easy for us to find that, but that can get overlooked very easily. So it will bring you to this page where they have a whole bunch of different types of data sets from business, entertainment, sports. You can go ahead and go through this and find a data set you want to work with and create a really cool portfolio project out of it. But for this instance, this very first one, we're going to start with the Superstore sales. Go ahead and click it, download, and it will give you an Excel sheet. So if we go ahead and open that up, we'll bring it over here, and just so you know what it looks like, we'll go to the top. This is essentially data you will see in a table on a data warehouse like BigQuery or Snowflake. You can see down here there are 3 sheets. These would be your different tables in a database, but we don't need to get into that right now. What we're really looking for is just a quick glance of what the data looks like. So you can see row ID, order ID. These should be unique for each order. Customer info, the region, categories that the product that they purchase is in, sales amount, quantity, discount, profit. Pretty straightforward. Returns, this is pretty important, so it has an order ID in there. So if you're new to data, we're going to use this ID number to connect that over to our orders table on order ID. Outside of that, we have people, so people's names and a region. If I had to guess, that would be like the manager of that region, the regional manager. And then we'd probably have to connect it through region as our key to connect it back to this orders table. Essentially, let's see, there's region. So if we have South, we come back here. Cassandra, once we connect the two, will be another column that we could pull out and then get all this data and attach it to these rows that have South as the region. So we know exactly who is the regional manager of that region. All right, looks good. So we can go ahead and save this, come back to Tableau Public, and we'll go ahead and import it. Since this was an Excel file, we'll click Microsoft Excel, try in our downloads folder, go ahead and hit open, and then we can see those same 3 sheets right here. So to connect them, we are going to just simply click, drag and drop, and you can see the data is populated that we just looked over right here. And people, do the same thing, drag and drop, This one was the regional manager and the regions that they're attached to. And this section over here, we can see which column that the data is being connected on. So it's region on one table in the orders and region on people in the other table. And we also want to bring in the returns and connect it to orders, which drag and drop, bring it over. This, like we said, is connecting on the order ID column, which is exactly what we want. Technically, you want to make sure that it is connecting on the correct IDs, because sometimes Tableau it takes a best guess. So you want to make sure it's actually doing what you want, so you don't have duplicate data and stuff like that. That's all we need to do. And once we're done, we could go ahead and click Sheet 1, and we could see all of our data over here. The ones in blue are our dimensions, which are kind of like categories. And the ones in green, if you can tell, these would be your metrics or kind of like numerical data. So since we're dealing with profit, quantity, sales, let's go ahead and build a sales dashboard. Now to do that, we could start off by pulling in sales, which aggregates all of the data set sales into a bar chart or a column chart. So that's not quite what we want. So we are going to need to figure out a way to break the data down to get a little bit more granular. And to do that, we want to look at sales over time. So we are going to pull in order date into the columns. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Now, for simplicity, let's just focus on year 2017 and not do something like year over year change, which that would be more of a proper way to do a dashboard. But we're just trying to get a dashboard created so we can see how fun it is. So we are going to hit Control and drag over this into the filter shelf. Click on years, hit next, and we are going to deselect everything besides 2017. So that is just aggregating 2017 sales, but we are going to want to look at this on a monthly view. So you can just hit the plus symbol right there next to these, which are called pills, and you could simply drag and drop these out. And there we have the sum of sales filtered by the year of what we want, aggregated down by month. And if we hit entire view, that'll go ahead and clean up the axis for us and make our dashboard building a little bit better and easier to work with. So that's it. That's it for this one. And we will just name this sales. And let's go ahead and create our second one. But before we do, let's go ahead and apply this filter to all the other worksheets we create. So go ahead and right click the pill in the filters, apply to worksheets, all using this data source. Now we create a new sheet by clicking this icon down here. And you see it's not there. It's kind of like a little glitch, but once you pull something in, you'll go ahead and see that filter. So we are going to want to look at sales again. And here you can see that filter populate. And we're going to look at categories to kind of get a feel of, where the sales are coming in. So here, let's go ahead and make this entire view. We can see that there were 3 categories that brought in sales for the year 2017, which is great. So we will go ahead and swap how it sorts the data from highest to lowest. It just kind of looks better that way. And then we will name this sales by category. And that's all we need for this one. So we've only been looking at sales so far. Now sales seems to be kind of the gross revenue of how the business is doing. And what it looks to be is the profit is how much money they made. So think of this as like the net of sales, minus the discount or overhead or what have you. So it would be wise of us to also look at how the profits were for this particular year. So we're pretty much going to bring in profit, and then like our last sheet, bring in category. So we can see, which category has the most profit after everything's said and done. Just like the other one, we're going to sort and bring this into the entire view. Now, one other thing we didn't do is bring in some data labels so we can actually see what the number is relating to this category or the column chart. So we can easily do that by holding down Control, clicking and dragging this pill, which is the sum of profit, and dropping it in label. So this will put our profit numbers on each bar, and we could come back to the other sheet we just did and do the same exact thing. There you have it. Now we go ahead and rename this to profit by category. And now we're going to focus on creating our KPIs or bands, which stands for big aggregated numbers. So thinking of our sales dashboard, these are high-level metrics that your stakeholder is interested in. Total sales, number of orders, and maybe even returns. Let's go ahead and do that. First, we'll get the total sales, which we can easily drag the sales to the columns. And I'll show you why we're doing this in a minute. The next thing we are going to want is the distinct count of orders to get the accurate orders. Now, in order to do that, we wouldn't click down here to get orders count, which kind of seems like we would, but this is italicized. So this is a generated field that Tableau made just to give you a count of how many records are in this table of orders. What we really want to do is come up to Order ID, right-click this, duplicate it, right-click and convert to a measure. If you were to bring in your order ID from up here, it doesn't really work. So converting it to a measure automatically gives us a distinct count of order ID, which is exactly what we need in order to get how many orders we had. And next we're going to want to get returns. So you would think we would do the same thing with returns as we did with order ID. But the way the data is laid out, you could click this little icon up here. Let's go look at returns. It is a text column attached to order IDs already. So technically, the number of rows will give us the number of returns we have. So we can use this italicized metric to get what we want. Now that we have our 3 KPIs there, we could go over here to Show Me, change this to a text table, and then go ahead and move it so it looks like a table. Make these columns just a little bit bigger so we can see. And if they're not in the right order, you can order them by down here and in any order you want. So I kind of like the sales, orders, then returns. It kind of flows better that way. Now to clean this up a little, we can right click and hit Edit Alias. So for this one, it's just orders. And on this KPI, we are just going to want to know the returns. So we can just go ahead and get rid of this. And just to make it look a little better for ourselves down the road, we can format the alignment. After we have this, we can dive into creating our dashboard. And with creating our dashboard, instead of clicking this button, we're going to click the one right next to it, and this will create us a new dashboard. Since it defaults to a small size, we can go ahead and click the range and click Fix Size and pick whichever one you want. It doesn't matter. You could always change it later. I kind of like 1,000 by 1,000, but you can pick something that's close, something like desktop browser. That should be good enough. And oh, we did not name this one. This will be our, we'll just name it KPI. Now, all we have to do is bring in our KPIs, which we'll put on the top. We'll go with sales and then profit. So we'll bring that below, bring that over to the side. And then our line chart, I like to put them at the bottom. So if we could just wait until you see this, it could be a bit finicky at times, but we're dragging and dropping to where it's below these two charts. And then we can easily adjust these. And after that, we can start cleaning it up a little bit. So I like to take away grid lines and format numbers at this point instead of doing it in the beginning. It doesn't matter. You could do it either way you'd like. This is just my preference. So to get rid of the grid lines all at once, we can go ahead and go to Format and go to Workbook. And here you will see grid lines. And go ahead and turn those off. And you can see there are still some axis grid lines or axis lines, whatever you want to call them. There is axis rulers down here. I like to have those off, and then you could also see there's little tiny tick marks. I turn those off as well. Since there is no off option, I just change them white. Now if you change your dashboard background, you obviously want to change it to the same color, but you don't have to worry about it for this one. Now that our KPIs are up here, I kind of want them to fit the entire view, kind of like we did with the bar charts and line chart. You can simply click up here and hit entire view. And now we're going to need a title for the dashboard. A couple ways of doing this. You can add a text field in there, or click up here and hit show title, which is the easiest in this scenario. So we can just go ahead and do that. We can name it something simple like sales dashboard. Put the year so everyone knows what year everything is. Perfect. After that, there's a couple things we can clean up for sales. This is technically a currency in USD. So to do that, we can change it sheet by sheet or change it a more efficient way by, let's say we go back to where we can see our dimensions and measures. If we go to sales and right click, default properties and number format, there's a currency option by custom. Keep the decimal in there or not have them in there. In this instance, we don't need cents, so we're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars, so no one really cares about cents. So let's go ahead and round that up. We could go ahead and hit OK. That changes the axis and the KPIs, or anywhere it has sales data. We could come back to our dashboard and take a look at that. The same thing goes for profit. So we go back to profit, do the same exact thing. Number format, currency custom, take away the decimal. So this way, if let's say your manager doesn't like this dashboard, wants you to change something up, and you're still using sales and profit metrics in your new dashboard, this format will stay the same. A couple other things we can do is get rid of these axis titles. So let's go ahead and go back to the sheet, right click the axis and hit edit axis. Just delete the title. You can't click here. It just take away the words. Easy as that. The reason why we're doing this is, let's go back to our dashboard. It's saying sales, or over here it's saying profit. We already know this chart is sales by category, so we don't need, we don't need sales to be everywhere. So we can take that off of every chart that has it. So down here, for instance, delete it right here in the dashboard. We could take away profit, and it just looks a lot cleaner. We could also take away these labels. So if you right click on category or in that general area, you hide field labels. Same thing over here, hide field labels, hide field labels. We already know what these charts are. And up here, having the word KPI just doesn't make sense. So we could right click and hide title. Now our KPIs look a little small. So let's go ahead and make them a bit bigger. So if we go back to our sheet, we can click on text, click these three little dots, highlight our measure value. I like to have them bold, and we will increase the size. Hit apply. That looks a lot better. So let's go check it out at the dashboard. And maybe we'll want to make those KPIs a little smaller and increase the other charts here. And we'll get off of that. And there you have it, your very first dashboard. So what we're going to want to do next is save it, because if we don't save it and all that's gone, you'll have to start from scratch. So up here, like everything else, you'd have a save icon. It might have you log in. So go ahead and do that. And then you will just need to name your workbook. We'll just name it Sales Dashboard and hit save. Give it a minute. This is pushing it to the cloud. Once it does that, bring this over here. It now saves it to your Tableau public. And if you want to show anyone else, you could simply send them this link. If you don't want anyone to see this, you can go ahead and click settings and show viz on profile. Go ahead and uncheck that. That way, no one can access it, no one can see it besides you. I hope this tutorial helped you get started with Tableau Public. There's so much more to explore, and I can't wait to dive deeper on future videos. In the meantime, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.